Well, Dr. Tola Odubajo joins us. He is of the Department of Political Science, University of Lagos. Good morning. And I'm excited because we have political scientists looking at it critically and objectively now. With all of this going on, what is the reading you're getting, especially from the just concluded PDP World Congress?
First and foremost, the most important thing is the nature and the structure of our political party system in the country. At the moment, there are a lot of anxiety and, a lot of arguments back and forth. It shows clearly that, the structure, was not properly created and is not being properly, nurtured. Okay, if we take or check, the main roles and functions of political parties, we realize that there are major issues such that if we don't work on those issues at every point of the way, our congresses and issues of primaries would always have great challenges for us. Okay, in other words, the lack of internal democracy within our political party system would always create problems for us, and it is important, that we work on that, because internal party democracy is inviolable. It is sacrosanct for any democracy to work. Okay, because the political parties are they are more or less like microcosm, of the entire democratic system. Okay, so if they cannot imbibe the culture of democracy, how then can we actually practice, democracy in the larger society? You'll see that most of these issues and challenges cut across, all of the major political parties. So until we're able to solve all of these problems, okay, in terms of, the patterns, the architecture of our political party system, on what basis, on what is the framework, upon which
you say internal democracy should be sacrosanct. That is a very deep one for parties. Now, maybe we should start by looking at the structures of political party. What should it be like?
Yeah. First and foremost, like I said earlier, they have within political parties, there must be some elements that must be present. One of it is equity, justice, due process, inclusion, and all the positives that could advance our cause forward. Okay. However, what we have found out in the Nigerian scenario is that most of these elements are not present within political parties. How did the parties come into being? The creation of the parties, of course, will determine the interactions among the members of the parties. So, in essence, when we have the kind of creations that we have now, the processes of the establishment had always been, faulty. Okay, and we've gone like 15, 16 years now. It's been very, it's appearing almost impossible, to put them in the right way. Okay, the major elements, the actors, the characters within our political process are not providing, the space, the platform, for restructuring this political party.
One of the tools used in politics is lobby. How do you differentiate or equate that with what they have called intrusion from the outside into the whole scheme of things? When, for instance, in Rivers State, some of them would say there is some form of interference from some individuals, and some would say no, that is what they call a lobby. When you say you have to lobby for votes, lobby for some kind of support.
essentially, lobbying is a legitimate, process in any democracy. Okay, you want to advance your cause, you want to push forward, your own agenda. It is necessary, for you to come together and ensure that those in authorities, those that can make things happen, you need to convince them, in the process of advancing your cause. However, the problem is, okay, to what extent would that your cause benefit the generality of the people? That's where the problem is. Lobbying is legitimate. It is acceptable. It is part of standard practices of democracy. Okay. However, what is the basis of your lobbying? What do you hope to achieve by lobbying? Okay. You cannot tell me now that because a hypothetical case, I know an individual, despite the fact that he's not qualified for the position, but because I have contacts, perhaps in Abuja, at the point where the decisions will be made, I present him forward over someone else that is not qualified. Okay, yes, I have lobbied, however, in the wrong way, for the wrong purposes. Okay, so these are some of the issues, some of the problems, the challenges we have with our political process. Is the whole of the political process that have issues. Okay. However, at this point in time, because of the closeness of the elections, there's a lot of attention on the political parties. Okay. That still does not remove from the fact that the whole process, has its own issues.
When we talk about, when people talk about internal democracy, a lot of parties, or let me say, the PDP actually prefers to say that, it does maintain some amount of internal democracy. In fact, it used to hold that that was what it held over its old rival, the ACN. We don't know how it's going to pan out in the APC. But, that was one of the things that they put forward. So you find out that they take great pride in being being televised when their party primaries are being held. And you always find that people, queue up behind candidates and they're being counted. There's some amount of voting going on. And people think that itself is about the only thing that, is democratic, that they voted at the end of the day. Do you think that, whatever happens before the voting can really be influenced?
Right. You see, we need to make some clarifications here conceptually. Okay. Free and fair voting is significantly different from free and fair elections. Okay. The first thing that you should check is, how did the delegates emerge? The delegates that were going to vote, were they induced? How? Yes, we see a whole lot of things televised. That will take place at Eagle Square in Abuja. Okay, you see people queuing up till the early hours of the morning. Yes, that is free and fair voting. Okay, what goes on before the voting starts? Okay, how many, what do we call it here? Ghana must go bags have exchanged hands. How? It only boils down to the fact that if you do not have, it doesn't matter whether you're qualified or not. If you don't have the resources, okay, is mere, it's just for the television.
Can we divorce that from politics? That notion of inducement, because it's totally different from lobbying.
Again, if I run a campaign, okay, and I induce you with, my success stories, I've been here, I've been there, I have experiences.
People can be induced with stories?
Yes. I can impress you, with my achievements, just to ensure that, to make you feel that I'm qualified for the post.
That's campaigning, right?
Yes. What I'm trying to say is that in the processes of campaign, you can induce, you can actually induce, not with, monetary resources, or that's not what I'm saying, okay? As a matter of fact, to be able to convince you, to vote for me during the election, you know, if I don't have the money, okay, but you can be sure that based on my past experiences, based on my records, yes, I'm going to get there on the basis of integrity. I'm going to serve you. I'm going to do, you know, all of those things that would add to the quality of your life. Yeah, in one way or the other, I have induced you. It's actually different from lobbying, okay? But this form of inducement is positive inducement. It's actually different from, you know, the fact that, okay, whatever I can get from you today, you know, will determine, you know, which way I would vote. And as soon as that is over, I don't bother about what you do with my vote. If you get into power, whatever you do, if it does not add to me positively, it doesn't matter. I don't care any longer. Okay? It's different from, you know, a determined and conscious effort, you know, to be able to sieve the candidates and make your decisions on the basis of the qualifications, on the basis of experience, on the basis of what this individual has to offer.
You know, you were saying something about the processes that have been, how do you put it now? You said there's something wrong with the processes, and that's because there's something wrong with the structure. Now, these structures, I mean, those that put together the Constitution must have thought about the fact that there's bound to be some problems with the structure, and so they brought out another body that is meant to monitor it. Let's look at what the Constitution said about INEC. It says, one of the functions of INEC is to monitor the political parties, the organization and operation of the political parties, including their finances. Do you think INEC has been effective in monitoring and helping to put the political parties in check?
Right. See, there are two main means of, you know, following up on internal democracy. One is advocacy, which is kind of what we're doing now, and the second is the regulatory mechanism, okay, which is for from the Constitution and the INEC. But what we find is that people, parties subvert all of these regulations, okay? Yes, INEC lays down its rules and, you know, limits you on, you know, on your spending, on your sources of finance, but to what extent can INEC monitor, you know, these regulations? You know, where are the control mechanisms? Okay, where are the control mechanisms? We find out that, you know, individuals are so powerful and, you know, they pull the whole of the party structure, you know, on their way, you know, in their path. So there are limitations, okay? Despite the fact that the rules are there, the regulations are there, the ability to use the control mechanism to limit, you know, the violations of the rules are limited.
Well, I think we'll take a break. We'll come back, and what we'll do, we'll be looking at some of these control mechanisms within the political party and outside the political party, talking about the umpire, which is INEC. Well, that's after this break.